Hey, what's up everyone? Frosty here with another hand of the week video for you. Not going to do any kind of intro, so we're just going to jump right to the hand. We got King Queen offsuit in the big blind, and we're facing an open from middle position here. This villain tends to open quite a bit, even in middle position though. They're opening over 20%, so we're kind of dealing with a cutoff range in this situation. We don't have to defend quite as wide, I think, because we do have more people behind to help us defend his open. But I do think against a 20 plus open range, we can defend King Queen if we want to. So I think 3-betting and calling are both options. I choose to call. So pretty interesting flop. This is where we have to start making some decisions. We do have reasonable equity against our villain's hand range, I would assume, with 2 overs and 4 jacks to the nuts, or I guess 3 jacks and then the heart is a little bit tainted. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation because you want to be aware of how often your opponent's c-betting board textures like this, I think. In this situation, our villain was c-betting a lot. I had them c-betting around 70%, which I just have to assume if they're c-betting 70%, they're probably over c-betting this board. But if somebody's not over c-betting and they have a tighter c-bet percentage, I'm going to be definitely less thrilled about playing back on a board texture like this because they're probably aware that this is a texture that's going to be played back at quite often because it should hit my range pretty hard, and they might not be c-betting with a wide range at all. So in this case, I chose to go for the check raise just because I thought he was over c-betting this board potentially. With a 70% c-bet, you know, it's going to be pretty hard for him to defend to check raises, and check calling out of position just doesn't seem too great. I mean, even with the outs that I stated, we're just going to have to check fold a lot of cards on the turn, and we have no showdown value really. I mean, even if he's c-betting ace high here, we're going to have to make a play at some point. Whether that's betting the river if he checks back. I mean, of course, it's going to matter what comes out on the turn in the river. Or we just check raise now and hope he folds, or hope we spike a jack or even a king or a queen, and go from there. But yeah, it gets a little bit dicey here, and it's going to get dicey because he does call, or they do call, because we don't really know what cards are going to be good to bluff on. We can try to put him on a reasonable range at this point of like. Flush draws, of course, probably like some queen jack hands, maybe like 7-8, over pairs, and then we don't really know if they slow play sets in the spot, or if they slow play like a hand like 9-10, or if they just always 3-bet the flop. Which is why it's kind of tricky. We don't know if we don't know if we want to be bluffing that flush card, or we don't know if we want to be bluffing the board pairing card, because we're not really sure what his range is. But this is the trouble we get ourselves into. But we're just gonna have to try to find a way out. And that king could be a way out. We're still behind a lot of his range, of course, and queen jack gets there, but we do have a queen which blocks that, which is kind of nice to represent that hand if we want to, but I don't know if we have to be bluffing anymore. Like I end up betting the turn, but in my mind this is now a value bet. Of course if we get raised, you know, I don't think we'd be that range, but I think we can actually value bet this now. Against flush draws, of course, maybe some 10x, a hand like jacks, queens, but then we're also behind aces and obviously kings and slow played sets. So it's still a dicey spot, but I think at this point we do want to bet again, and this time is going to be for value. I should probably bet a little bit bigger here. I go 24 into 34. I don't think it's a big deal, but I think we might want to be betting bigger here. I mean, if I had a set of 10s or queen jack, the board's just so wet. I would probably want to bet. I probably wouldn't overbet, but closer to pot. Okay, so villain calls, and the 7 of hearts comes on the river, and now this is even a weirder spot. But I think the play at this point is going to be probably to check fold, because I mean, if we think about it, if we check here, the villain just shouldn't have a lot of bluffs, they shouldn't have a lot of hands that need to bluff at this point. If they have a set, I mean, first of all, a lot of stuff will just check back. Like I expect to check here, and I expect villain to check back quite a bit, and then I expect to win, you know, a decent amount of the time. But I do expect villain to check back some better hands. Like if they have pocket aces here, ace king of hearts, or not hearts, obviously, ace king of. I don't know. Like, it's really hard for him to have ace king on calling this flop check raise, but you know what I mean. Like a one pair type hand is probably not jamming this river because they might think that we're still checking some sets, planning on check calling, maybe checking some flushes occasionally for some balance, but there's just not a lot of incentive for them to shove those one pair type hands or even a set at this point. If they're slow playing a set, I'm not really sure if they can shove for value given what they expect to get called by. So I don't think we're going to be getting bluffed here. Like, I mean, what can they really have as a bluff anyways? Like, the only hand that seems reasonable is maybe 7-8, and even 7-8 picks up a tiny bit of showdown value on the river, although relatively speaking it's not much. But I mean, Queen Jack beats us, sets beat us. If they have jacks or queens, I just don't see those hands ever shoving. So I think the play is a pretty easy check fold, and I don't really want to bet myself because his range should have a lot of flush draws, obviously by this point, and even if he is slow playing a set, there's no guarantee they're going to fold, just given the fact that they might think that we're just check raising the flop really wide, and or maybe even have like a lower set for value. So I don't think we're gonna get a set to fold at this point. So I think it's a pretty clear check fold, and fortunately he checks back, and he has ace 10 of clubs. So we got really lucky, and it pretty much played out as best as it could have, I think. Their play seems very reasonable. The call of the check raise seems really good. With the backdoor flush draw and top pair, and just given all the draws I can have. And then they pick up more equity on the turn, and then they choose not to bluff the river, which, you know, I think is fine. I mean, they do have some showdown value, and I'm not really sure. Like, if I have a reasonably balanced checking range on the river here, they probably are not incentivized to shove ace 10, even though they don't really beat much at this point by checking back. So anyways, I thought it was kind of a cool hand. I mean, obviously pretty lucky it worked out for us, but I think there was a few decent talking points at least that were pretty interesting. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the thumbs up. Let me know if you like the videos so I know to keep making them. Alright guys, this has been Frosty for Team Online. Take care.